Right guys, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my match recap / review of Chelsea's basically 1-1 draw against Tottenham Hotspur in the Carabao Cup, which did unfortunately end in us losing 5-4 on penalties. Was really a game of two halves. I will be getting into all the key moments of the game, as well as giving you guys my player ratings for the Chelsea squad that performed in this match. And at the end of this video, as always, I'll be giving you guys my player of the season scoring system ratings as well, so we can all tally that up at the end of the season and decide who our player of the season was. If you guys do enjoy these concepts and videos, please be sure to leave a like and to comment down below your player ratings and what you thought of the match in general, and be sure to also subscribe to the BusterBarnes YouTube channel for everything Chelsea and everything football in general. Okay, so going into the starting 11, we did actually see the debut of Edouard Mendy in goal. I was thinking that maybe we would see Kepa and see Mendy debut in the Premier League. However, my prediction was right going with him, and he did start in goal and had a fairly decent performance. We'll get onto that a little bit later. The back four was as predicted. We had Azpilicueta, Tomori, Zuma and Ben Chilwell making his full debut as well for the squad. The double pivot was Kovacic and Jorginho. I thought it was going to be Jorginho and Kante, but it does make sense. You don't want to be giving Kante all of these minutes in these cup games. Going forwards, we actually had Mason Mount. Now, I wouldn't have started him personally. I did have Kai Havertz on the right. I didn't start Werner either. I actually started Barkley, who I would have put in the middle, and I had Hudson-Odoi on the left and Giroud up front. At the start, it was more Callum Hudson-Odoi on the right, Werner on the left, but they did rotate a little bit throughout the match. We did see substitute appearances as well from Emerson and N'Golo Kante and Tammy Abraham later on in the second half. Okay, so first half it was pretty much all Chelsea. We had the possession, we had the chances, and it was Timo Werner's first goal in a Chelsea shirt. First official goal anyway, if you discount that friendly goal he scored against Brighton about a month ago. It was a pretty decent goal from him, buried into the bottom right corner. Maybe Lloris would have been a little bit annoyed that he didn't get there. However, it was through a sea of Tottenham bodies, so fair play if he did not see that ball until it was a little bit too late. But we were looking decent in this half. Defensively, maybe slightly shaky at points. Mendy actually made a very good save with his feet, and I mean, Chelsea fans were just celebrating when they saw our goalkeeper finally make a save. We're not used to that with Kepa or even Caballero really in goal. He also came out and caught a few crosses as well, so it was a very confident performance from the goalkeeper. Maybe a few flappy hands moments, but it was his first game for Chelsea, so we can maybe excuse that. I don't think he's played for a few weeks for Rennes either, as we've been trying to get this deal across. Defence looked pretty solid, quite safe passing. Zuma and Tomori, whenever they got the ball, would just yeet it up the pitch forwards as well, which was pretty funny to watch. Midfield, I thought Jorginho was really getting stuck into the game, and attacking wise, I really thought Callum was really thriving and really trying to push forward, drive the Tottenham defence. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But we are seeing more and more the Hudson-Odoi that we want to be seeing, really confident driving into the Tottenham defence. One thing that I noticed during this match as well is Werner was making quite a lot of good runs, and some of them weren't really being picked up. So I think that with maybe some of the new players coming in, or just with other players getting a bit more used to how Werner plays, we'll be seeing hopefully more people make those passes through to Werner as he runs on, as that could be very dangerous for opposition teams as well. Spurs did go with a 3-5-2 formation with Lamela and Bergwijn up front. They had Reguilon, their new signing, playing at left wing back, who had a decent game. He was doing some good things, but also did some bad things as well in his first performance for Tottenham. But in the second half, it was basically all Spurs. I'm not sure what Mourinho said to them at half-time. I'm not sure what Lampard said to Chelsea, but Tottenham really came back at it. Eric Dyer actually left the pitch during the second half to go to the toilet, which was pretty crazy. We didn't know what was going on during the match, but it was confirmed later on that he did in fact need to go to the toilet, which is pretty funny. I mean, fair enough, you got to go, I suppose. But yeah, Tottenham did equalise fairly late on in the second half. It was a cross going in, and it was Emerson losing his man. Emerson came on for Chilwell, and yeah, he just didn't pick up his man. See, I don't really have a problem with Emerson coming on for Chilwell, because as we all know, Chilwell came back from an injury. This is his first start, the longest he's played. I think he's probably going to be starting against Crystal Palace as well, so I don't blame Lampard for taking Chilwell off. And Chilwell wasn't amazing, he was fine, but he was playing very safe, playing very reserved. which you can't necessarily blame. But I thought Emerson coming on was fine, but he was not great when that Spurs cross was delivered to Lamela, who did poke it in the back of the net. And Lamela, I think, was Tottenham's best player. He may have even been man of the match, I think. I think Dyer ended up getting it, which I didn't really understand. But I thought Lamela was very good for Tottenham in this game. But yeah, as Kante came on, he shored up the defence a bit. Abraham came on as well. We could not score the winning goal, and it did go to penalties. There was a key moment in the game as well where it was Mount and Werner, I believe, 2v1, and Mount just did not make the pass through to Werner. It was pretty shocking, unfortunately. Mount did look very tired though throughout the game. As you guys know, I wouldn't have started him personally, but we will be getting onto that a little bit later. When it got to penalties, it was 5-4. It was Mendy's first appearance in the Chelsea shirt. Obviously, being in the penalty shootout is really being thrown into the deep end. He didn't really seem like he knew what the Spurs players' techniques were. He didn't even really seem like he knew what he was doing in this penalty shootout, really, to be honest. I don't know if he's been in that many, but that's nothing against him. You know, he still had a pretty good performance, but he did unfortunately go the wrong way for all of the penalties. Chelsea's penalty takers were Tammy Abraham, who slotted it nicely into the bottom left corner, Azpilicueta, Emerson, who all did the same as well. Jorginho's penalty was very scary. They built up on commentary how he missed against Liverpool. He did the skip. Lloris waited, but luckily Jorginho was so precise enough to put it in the bottom right corner that Lloris couldn't get there, so a bit of a scary moment. But it was Mason Mount coming up fifth in the shootout. Unfortunately, I believe he hits it wide. It might have got saved, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that was the end of the game, and Mason Mount did miss the penalty. And Eric Dyer came and consoled him after the match, which was nice. But that does in fact mean that Chelsea were out of the Carabao Cup, which is a shame. It was actually the competition that I thought we might have a chance of winning, but when it's penalties it can pretty much go either way. I'm not looking too badly on it. I'm not looking too badly on Mount either. I know that some extreme vocal minority fans are having a go at him, but I just think that's a bit silly. He was our best player against West Brom, so I don't really know what people are doing, to be honest. But yeah, that was the game. Annoying to be out, but Carabao Cup, not necessarily the biggest competition. I would have still liked to have won it. I'm not one of those people who's going to say, oh, who cares about this competition, because I would have still liked to have won it. But yeah, we just move forward. Okay, so getting into the player ratings for the game, I will be starting with Edouard Mendy. He was on course to maybe get a 7, but I'll give him a 6.5 just because I thought he did make 2 decent saves in the match. It was actually quite funny. The commentator said, oh, a save that you'd expect him to make, which is hilarious because Kepa doesn't even make saves that you'd expect him to make. So just an average save from a goalkeeper is so amazing to us Chelsea fans at this moment in time. But he also made a good save with his feet. He came out and claimed crosses. There was maybe a few times where he looked a little bit flappy and unconvincing when he punched the ball out, but he still was confident. He still came out to try and deal with the ball, which is just something we haven't seen from our goalkeepers recently. So that was very promising from him. I'm going to be giving him a 6.5 out of 10. If he got a clean sheet, I probably would have given him a 7. I don't think it was his fault we didn't get a clean sheet. He couldn't have really done anything about that shot from Lamela. It was very close range and just poor defending from Emerson, unfortunately. But he will be getting a 6.5 from me. Hopefully he keeps up this good work and maybe even improves a little bit, as he does look like he could be a very decent goalkeeper for us. Going in to the defence, I'm actually going to start on the left with Ben Chilwell, and I'm actually going to be giving him a 5.5 out of 10. Now, as you guys know, my base rating and average rating for these ratings is 6. Usually that's when you've had an alright game. Ben Chilwell, this might seem a bit harsh, but I just think he was very safe, and I'm not saying I don't understand this. It was his first proper game in a Chelsea shirt. He was coming back from injury, but there was just a few times where he was forced to pass backwards, and maybe I was expecting him to maybe try and make a run and overlap, and he didn't do it. Maybe he was told not to. Again, I'm not holding anything against him. I don't expect him to always be playing like this, but I just thought it was maybe a bit too generous to give him an average score, because even though he did win some aerials and have a solid display, I guess you could say, maybe he does deserve a 6, but there was just something about his performance that I just expected a little bit more from him. I'm not too sure, but he'll be getting a 5.5 from me. Kurt Zouma will be getting a 7, because I do think that out of all of our defenders, he did stand out the most, making some very good tackles. All of his tackles are basically highlight reel worthy, winning aerials, kicking the ball away, just very dominant in his area, using his quick recovery pace pace as well. I really do want to see him and Thiago Silva as a partnership soon. I think we may see that against Crystal Palace. That is nothing against Tomori though, who does get a 6.5. A decent display from him as well, very solid. Zuma just stood out a little bit more to me, which is why he got a bit of a higher rating, but Tomori was still great as well, made some good tackles. Both of them did recover. They both maybe made like one or two mistakes, but they recovered well from them. So it was another good display from Tomori as well. We all love seeing the Zuma-Tomori partnership. It really does usually work out quite well for us. Going on to the right back, Cesar Azpilicueta. I've actually given him a 7 as well. Now I think his performance was maybe about a 6.5. However, the reason I've given him a 7 is because he basically got the assist for Werner's goal, even though it did maybe take a touch from a Tottenham player as well. And also just at the end when he took that penalty, you know, as our captain, stepping up second to take the penalty when maybe you wouldn't necessarily expect him to. I know he's taken penalties for us in the past, but it's not something you'd necessarily link with Azpilicueta, you know, taking a penalty. And also when he was cycling up Mendy as well, I just thought that he really has showed recently, especially in the last few games, but also last season, Azpi's really stepped up and shown us what a true captain he is. A lot of people questioned his leadership under Sarri in the seasons before because he wasn't that vocal. I think he's really changed that a little bit, and he's really sort of led by example in this team, a bit more than he usually does. So he gets a 7 from me. Going into the midfield, Kovacic I'm giving a 5.5. Again, might be a bit harsh. He did win fouls. He always does that. His dribbling is good. But I don't know, just again, something about his game disappointed me a little bit. I don't know what I was expecting. I was just expecting maybe a bit more driving runs forward, for him to be a little bit more creative or forward thinking. I just didn't see it enough. I just saw him get fouled a lot, and I saw him foul other players a lot. I didn't think it was great from Kovacic, so I'm giving him a 5.5. But let me know in the comments below if you guys think that is harsh. Jorginho, I'm actually going to give a 6.5. He scored his penalty, but also he was getting really stuck in, especially in the first half. Maybe he trailed off a bit in the second half, but I do think that he was getting stuck in loads, winning the ball back, making some decent passes. Maybe he was passing it sideways a little bit, but I just think that he did control the tempo especially well in the first half, and I think it was a decent performance from him, being vocal, leading the back line and the midfield. You do really need him when you've got a double pivot of Jorginho and either Kovacic or Kante. It just looks a little bit more solid than if you have Kante and Kovacic together. Now I do think Kante and Kovacic are better players, but they're not really that vocal, so maybe that is an issue when they are playing together. But Jorginho gets a 6.5 from me. Going up to Mason Mount, and he is going to get a 5 out of 10. Now, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon that all these other people are saying, oh, Mount is rubbish, he should never start again, he's terrible, loan him out, he should have been loaned over Barkley. I heard someone say that, which was absolutely ridiculous. But it was just probably one of his worst performances in a Chelsea shirt, and I don't necessarily blame him. I think some people are very quick to blame Lampard, some people are very quick to blame Mount. I think it's a mixture of both. I personally wouldn't have started Mason Mount. He plays so many minutes for us. There wasn't that much of a turnover from last season to this season. I do think he needed the rest, and that did show towards the latter stages of the game. However, even if you're tired or not, that cannot excuse that he didn't make the pass to Werner. He really should have been doing a lot better there. Also, it shouldn't really excuse him missing a penalty. We could all tell that he was going to miss it as well. It was quite obvious when he walked up. Not necessarily blame him for missing a penalty, because players do it, but I don't think you can necessarily just completely blame Lampard for the Mason Mount's performance, but I do think both guys have a bit of a part to play in that. Going to the right side, we have Callum Hudson-Odoi. Going to give him a 6.5. I think it was a very decent performance from him, showing more confidence against a better side than Barnsley as well. He didn't get a goal and an assist, but he was really driving forwards, could have scored as well. Maybe he could have passed it into Tammy for Tammy to have a bit of an easier shot, but I also don't blame Hudson-Odoi shooting for the position he was at. It was still a good position. I think he just showed a lot of excitement, a lot of good runs as well, and just is really trying to fight for his spot in this team, and I think he deserves it. I think he should probably start against Crystal Palace, so we'll see if that does happen. Going to the left with Timo Werner, he is going to get a 7.5 out of 10 from me. He got his first goal in the Chelsea shirt, did look dangerous, came back to press, make tackles, won some headers. He also was trying to make loads of runs, like I said. Sometimes he wasn't found, sometimes he was. I just think it was a good performance from him, and I think he performed well against Tottenham for Leipzig when they faced each other in the Champions League last season, so hopefully more performances from him. I think he's still getting used to English football, but this was a very promising performance from the German. Giroud, I'm going going to be giving a 5 out of 10 now. That might be a little bit harsh, but I just didn't really notice him, and it looked like he lost the ball a few times. He wasn't really getting into the game. There might have been a few times that he offloaded the ball well, but it just didn't stick out to me. I was expecting a bit more of a more dominant performance from Giroud. He was against 3 centre-backs, to be fair, but when the team was announced with Werner, Mount and Hudson-Odoi, I was really excited. Oh, they can play off Giroud really well, but it just didn't seem to happen. Not necessarily all down to Giroud, but it was just a bit disappointing for me, so I'll give him a 5 out of 10. Going onto the bench quickly, Emerson gets a 5.5 because he came on and did make that mistake for the Tottenham goal. However, he did score his penalty, so fair play to him. And N'Golo Kante gets a 6.5 out of 10 because when he did come on, he did solidify our defence a little bit. He was all over the place, making tackles, making runs. He was a key point to why it looked like that we might be able to grab the winner towards the end. And Tammy Abraham will be getting a 6 out of 10. Didn't really have time to do much during the game, but he did score his penalty at the start, and that was great, by the way. I love how last time we saw Abraham take a penalty, it was the final penalty of the Super Cup last season against Liverpool when he missed, and people were saying, oh, Tammy's career is over, he's finished. And now just to see him now step up first, take that penalty against Tottenham, bury it in the bottom left corner, it's just things you love to see. Got to love Tammy Abraham for doing that. So yeah, guys, those were my player ratings. Leave yours in the comments below. Okay, so as we do, we'll be getting into our Player of the Season point scoring system, where I give 3 players ratings, ranging from 1 to 3. With some of these games, I haven't been giving out the full 3 points, depending on the result and also the opposition. I'm only going to be giving out a maximum of 2 points again this game, as we didn't win, it was a draw, and also, I don't know, no one really necessarily stood out to me loads as the really key man in this Chelsea team, but I will be giving out 1 point to 2 players to make up for it, and those 2 players are going to be Cesar Azpilicueta and Kurt Zouma. I was really tempted to give Callum Hudson-Odoi one, but I just think maybe if he had a bit of an attacking return, he would have got one, but I just think that Zouma really stood out to me in the defence as being very solid. Azpilicueta did get his assist as well and just really showed some good leadership qualities, so that's why they're getting 1 point for me. And the 2 points is going to go to our goal scorer Timo Werner. Now, I'm not too sure why he didn't take a penalty. I think there was maybe news of him taking a bit of a knock, and that's why, because I don't think you can blame Lampard, or I don't think you can blame Mount, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure how penalties work is all of the players gather around and they all say if they want to take a penalty or not. And I think that probably what happened is Timo Werner had a bit of a knock and didn't want to necessarily take the risk doing a penalty, which is fair enough. It's not like Mount hasn't scored a penalty for us before either. So yeah, I think that sort of solves that question. But Werner will be getting the 2 points for me, as it was a very good performance from him. Let me know who you guys would give these points to as well, who you guys think has been our star player so far. You can see on the screen now how the points are tallying up. Still a long way to go in the season, but if you guys did enjoy my match preview, even agree or disagree, please be sure to leave a like, comment down below your player ratings and subscribe for more content like this, as well as Fantasy Premier League and FIFA 21 content also. Hope you guys do have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.